Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking a tiny bit about the myot or charm of Korea. Now I want to just preface this video by saying everybody has different travel experiences and that's totally valid. But the first time I traveled to Korea, I kind of went in with this conception on the internet that people are very unfriendly, and so today I'm telling you about the charm of Korea, which is actually the people. Because my travel experience was completely different, and I've been there twice, and every single time it's been this amazing. People were friendly, they were willing to help, and they approach you on their own will. So I'm going to tell you 3 of my stories from my most recent trip that I think really shows off the charm of the people and their friendliness. So the first is a very brief interaction, but I thought it was very cute. I was on my way back to Dongdaemun alone, as I had gone to SBS, the show's recording, and I was meeting my dad for dinner somewhere. And I was sitting on the subway alone and mind you, we were somewhere in not rural Seoul, but outskirts of Seoul. When an old lady, probably in her late 70s, gets on with her daughter and sits down in the pink seat. As we know, the pink seat is reserved for the elderly and pregnant women. But I immediately notice her because she has dyed red hair. And I don't know if you can tell on this video, but at the moment I also have dyed reddish hair. So I have a tendency to just smile at people because I think it's a nice thing to do. So if I make eye contact with someone, I'll typically smile. So me and this old lady make eye contact and I give her a big smile, and what she ends up doing was just really cute, and I think just really friendly, and shows that there's an effort despite any communication barrier. Is she points up to her hair, which is also dyed the same shade of red, points to my hair, and then gives me the biggest thumbs up ever, and proceeds to then tap her daughter on the shoulder, show her my hair as well, and goes, once again, cool. I just go thank you. She goes, thank you, and we move on. And I get off a couple of stations later, and she waves at me as I get off. So I think that's just one very tiny example of just being friendly will influence your travel experience, and just being open to that communication. My second incident was at iPark Mall. I was sitting on these little benches outside. You probably know them. I'll put up a photo right over here. That's what they look like. When an old man, not an old man, but a middle-aged man in a suit approaches me and my dad. And my dad's looking on something at the map, so he speaks to me. And the first thing he says is, he's like, where are you from? And I'm quite a chatty person, so naturally I spoke back, and I said, oh, we're from South Africa. And this man starts going, oh, South Africa, you know what? I think it was the Korean War, he said. It was when the Korean War was ongoing, South Africa actually sent aid to Korea. And if you just go one subway station over from here, you'll find the War Memorial, and on the 3rd floor in this room, there's a South African flag, and you can learn all about everything. So I'm wow, that's amazing. And we're having this really good discussion. And he's telling me about all these amazing things. And he goes, I'm born and bred Korean. I've lived here my entire life. And he asks us about all the places we've been, and tells us a bit more about the history and about all these kind of places that you can visit that aren't really that much well-known tourist spots. Under the statue of King Sejong, I think, or Sejong, I'll check, there's a tiny little museum that just tells his story on Gwanghwamun Square. But a lot of people don't actually know about it, so they don't end up visiting it. But he asks us about our experience, and we're chatting, and then we end this conversation. We're like, oh, it was so lovely speaking to you, and because he has to go. And he also goes, oh, it was so lovely speaking to you as well. I hope you enjoy your trip, and then proceeds on his way back then. Mind you, we were completely just sat on the side, and this man of his own volition came up to us and started speaking and was very friendly and was just very eager to share his culture and cultural history with us. And we even discussed some of the museums we'd already been to, like the Museum of Korea, and it was just, I think, a really wholesome moment of human connection. And then third and finally is kind of a funny story. So it's our final day and we're leaving. So we get a taxi on the way to the airport. And as we're sitting here, this taxi driver, I was saying to my father, I was like, this guy's a pro. He's got all these like accessories that's kitted out his car. He has all these accessories that for his car that you can get from Daiso, like the pillow for his arm and things like that. And we're stuck in like peak traffic. So for a while we sit there like in silence, and he plays some classical music. Like, obviously not everyone wants to speak, just as long as you're friendly with them, just like be polite and have manners. But as we come out of this tunnel, he actually on Translate, like on Papago Translate, presses the button and speaks and says, oh, this is the president's house, and then starts telling us about it. And Papago translates and speaks back to us. As we're like driving, he's telling us all about these like buildings. So we drive past an apartment building and he goes, oh, this is the most expensive building, like one of the most expensive apartment buildings because it actually has less floors, all this. Mind you, in the background, he's playing classical music, and my dad is a very big fan of classical music. So my dad gets out his translation app on his phone and then chats with him a bit about like the comments he's making about like the president's house and things like that. But it kind of starts with this thing about classical music. So my dad puts into the translator, he goes, oh, do you like classical music? And he like lights up. He absolutely goes, yes, I love classical music, once again through the translation app. So he goes this, and my dad once again goes, he says, oh yes, I also love classical music, like I really wanted to see a show while we were here but we were unable to, and all these like small things. And from this sparks, I think, one of the like best memories I have from this trip is he starts telling us about a song, one specific song. I think it was Arirang. And he goes, let me play you like the peak, like this amazing classical music of Korea. And what he does is he pulls out the lyrics in Korean and also in English and explains to us what the song means. And says, okay, I'm gonna teach you the song now. So we're in the back of this cab on our way to the airport, and he starts playing the song, teaches us the song. We don't get it right immediately, so he stops, goes back, goes over the lyrics with us again, and then we all sing it again until we get it right. So it took about 4 times, but every single time we're like singing along, he's like encouraging us, he's putting his ear up and like clapping, and I think that was just a very wholesome moment. And then from that, like obviously he's very like excited to share. He shows us the next video, which is of the New York Philharmonic Orchestra performing the song, and he says, so you've now like heard it in Korean, you know what it means, and shows us this as well. And then from there proceeds the entire journey to the airport to introduce us to all these different like classical singers that are Korean or like things. Like he introduces an opera singer who's Korean, and then when we got to the airport, he got out of the car and we actually shook his hand. And I just think it kind of encapsulates the experience you'll have in Korea whilst traveling if you're very open-minded, because these 3 experiences definitely aren't the only examples of this. They're just 3 examples from the most recent trip, and there are more examples from this trip as well. But I think all this to say that the myeot of Korea, as I see it, the charm are the people and their hospitality and this idea of like trying to connect with other people, which I think there's a very big misconception online that if you go to a country that there's a language barrier, that you'll struggle a lot. And I definitely think that might be true, but I think if you make the effort to just do very basic things, even just like saying thank you, like 감사합니다, or saying hello in Korean, they'll definitely see that you're open to experiencing their culture and try and share it with you. So I really encourage everyone to travel to Korea if they are able, to try and experience this charm themselves. And let me know if any of you want to hear some more stories, because I have a lot of them from trips like this. But these are just kind of 3 that stood out to me on my most recent trip. So thank you so much for joining me in exploring the charm of Korea. Okay, bye!